Have you ever felt like something big is about to happen in your life? Maybe you've been wondering, am I getting married soon? But how do you really know? Allah sends us signs, subtle yet powerful indications that you're stepping closer to marriage. Sometimes you feel at peace even when things aren't going as planned. Other times you notice unexpected changes in your personality, relationships, and even the people entering your life. Is this Allah's way of preparing you for marriage? Stay with me as we uncover the 5 major signs that you're about to get married. And trust me, some of them will surprise you. Let's begin. One of the biggest signs that marriage is near is that your heart starts to feel ready. This isn't just an emotional feeling, it's a shift deep within your soul. Suddenly, the idea of marriage doesn't scare you anymore. Instead, it feels right, as if Allah is preparing you for a new chapter. Think about it. Maybe a few years ago, you weren't even thinking about marriage. You were busy with your studies, career, or personal growth. But now something has changed. You feel a sense of peace when you think about having a life partner. You may even start making dua, asking Allah to grant you a righteous spouse. Another sign is that your priorities begin to shift. The things that once seemed important, casual friendships, material success, or temporary pleasures, start to feel less significant. Instead, you focus more on emotional and spiritual growth. You start thinking about marriage as a way to complete your Deen, not just as a social expectation. You may also notice that marriage-related topics keep appearing in your life. Maybe your friends are getting married, your family starts discussing proposals, or you keep coming across Islamic reminders about the virtues of marriage. This could be Allah guiding you toward your next step. Another major shift happens within your mindset about relationships. If before you had unrealistic expectations or fears about marriage, you now start seeing it through an Islamic lens. You realize that marriage isn't about perfection, it's about growth, patience, and helping each other become better Muslims. Most importantly, you start feeling content with where Allah is leading you. Even if you don't know who your spouse is yet, you trust the process. You no longer feel desperate or impatient. Instead, there's a deep belief in your heart that when the right time comes, Allah will bring the right person into your life. So if you feel this inner peace, this readiness, and this shift in mindset, know that marriage may be closer than you think. Stay patient, keep making dua, and trust that Allah is guiding you toward the best future. One of the biggest signs that marriage is coming closer is when you start working on yourself, not just for personal success, but to become a better spouse in the future. You begin noticing your flaws, your bad habits, and your shortcomings, and instead of ignoring them, you feel a strong desire to improve. You realize that marriage requires maturity. Marriage is not just about love and romance, it's about responsibility, patience, and compromise. If you find yourself becoming more aware of your emotions and reactions, it's a sign of growth. You start controlling your anger, speaking more kindly, and being more mindful of your actions. You realize that the habits you have now, good or bad, will directly affect your future spouse and home. For example, if you were someone who easily got irritated, you now try to develop patience. If you used to struggle with communication, you start learning how to express yourself better. These are all signs that Allah is preparing you for marriage. You start working on your Deen. A righteous spouse is a blessing, and deep down, you know that to attract a good spouse, you must also be a good spouse. This is why you may start strengthening your connection with Allah. You begin praying more consistently, making dua for guidance, and avoiding sins that once felt normal. You start asking yourself, am I living in a way that pleases Allah? You also develop a stronger sense of accountability. You realize that your future spouse is not just a life partner, but someone you'll be responsible for. You'll influence their faith, their emotions, and their daily life. This realization pushes you to become more conscious of your actions. You start becoming more responsible. Marriage requires stability, not just financially, but emotionally and mentally. If you find yourself becoming more disciplined, more responsible, and more independent, it's a strong sign that Allah is preparing you for the next stage of life. Maybe you used to procrastinate a lot, but now you make sure your work is done on time. Maybe you used to waste money on unnecessary things, but now you focus on savings. These are all signs that you are mentally preparing for the responsibilities that come with marriage. You might also start feeling more serious about your career, health, and personal goals, not just for yourself, but because you know that your future spouse will be affected by these choices. Interactions, you find yourself drawn to meaningful conversations and connections. This shift in mindset is a major sign that marriage is near. Your interactions with others improve. How you treat others is a reflection of how you'll treat your spouse. If you start being more mindful of your words, more patient with family, and more forgiving with friends, it's a huge sign that you're growing. Maybe you used to argue a lot, but now you choose peace. Maybe you used to hold grudges, but now you forgive easily. These small changes indicate that you are developing the qualities of a good spouse, someone who brings peace, understanding, and love into their home. You no longer blame others for everything. One of the biggest signs of maturity is when you stop blaming others and start taking responsibility for your own actions. You realize that if something goes wrong, it's not always the fault of other people. It might be something within you that needs to change. In marriage, there will be disagreements, challenges, and tough moments. If you are already developing a mindset where you focus on solutions instead of blame, you are truly preparing for a healthy and successful relationship. You start making do-off for the right spouse, not just any spouse. At one point, you may have thought about marriage casually without much depth, but now you realize that choosing the right spouse is one of the most important decisions of your life. You stop praying for just someone to come into your life. Instead, you make sincere dua for a pious, kind, and compatible partner. You ask Allah to grant you a marriage that will bring barakah and peace. This shift in your dua shows that your understanding of marriage has matured. You no longer want just a wedding. You want a lifelong companion who will help you get closer to Jannah. If you've been noticing these changes in yourself, a stronger desire to improve, to be responsible, to fix your character, and to prepare for a meaningful relationship, then marriage may be closer than you think. This is Allah guiding you, preparing you, and shaping you into the person who will be ready to embrace a new chapter in life. So continue growing, keep working on yourself, and trust that when the right time comes, Allah will send you the best partner for you. One of the most surprising signs that marriage is coming closer is when you experience delays and obstacles. But instead of feeling frustrated, you feel at peace. Maybe you've had proposals that didn't work out. Maybe things seem perfect with someone, but then suddenly circumstances change. Yet deep inside, you feel no panic, no desperation, just a quiet confidence that everything is unfolding as it should. This is a sign that Allah is preparing you for something special. In the past, you might have been anxious about marriage delays. You may have wondered, why isn't it happening yet? But now you have a different mindset. Instead of seeing delays as a punishment, you start seeing them as protection. You begin to understand that Allah knows what's best for you, even when you don't. Maybe He is saving you from the wrong person. Maybe He is giving you time to grow before sending the right one. This change in perspective brings an incredible sense of peace. You no longer feel the need to rush because you trust Allah's plan. Perhaps you've seen people rush into marriage only to struggle with constant conflicts, misunderstandings, or even divorce. At first, you might have envied those who got married quickly. But now when you see the reality of unhappy marriages, you feel grateful for the delays in your own life. You start thinking, maybe I was saved from a similar fate. Maybe Allah is giving me time to meet the right person instead of settling for the wrong one. This gratitude strengthens your patience. You no longer feel pressure to marry just because others are getting married. Instead, you want to wait for the right person at the right time. One of the biggest signs that you are close to marriage is when you don't even need to see immediate results to feel peaceful. You don't know exactly when it will happen, but you feel a deep sense of certainty that it will happen at the perfect time. This is not blind optimism. This is faith. In the past, you may have felt restless, constantly wondering when the right person would come. But now you trust the process. You focus on self-improvement, on your relationship with Allah, and on your personal goals, knowing that when the time is right, marriage will fall into place effortlessly. Interestingly, another sign that marriage is near is when people around you start asking about it more often. Maybe your parents or relatives suddenly become more serious about finding you a spouse. Maybe friends and acquaintances start mentioning, I know someone who might be a good match for you. At first, these comments may feel random, but they are often a reflection of something shifting in the unseen. When Allah decides that your time for marriage is coming, He often places the idea in the hearts of those around you. While it's important not to feel pressured, it's also a sign that doors are starting to open. Another surprising sign is that even when opportunities start appearing, you don't feel desperate or in a rush. In the past, you may have felt anxious whenever a proposal or potential spouse came into your life. But now, even when someone good is suggested, you take your time, make dua, and think carefully. This shows that you are approaching marriage with wisdom, not with desperation. You understand that a life partner is not just about chemistry or emotions. It's about shared values, character, and long-term compatibility. At one point, you may have made dua for marriage in a general way, asking Allah for a spouse without much thought. But now your dua has changed. You ask for a spouse who will bring you closer to Allah. You pray for a marriage full of barakah, understanding, and peace. You no longer ask for someone just because you feel lonely. You ask for the right person because you are ready to build a life with them. This shift in dua is a major sign that Allah is preparing you for marriage. When your prayers become focused and sincere, it means your heart is in the right place. If you've been facing delays but feeling peaceful about it, take it as a sign that Allah is preparing you for something truly special. Marriage is not just about timing. It's about the right person, the right situation, and the right spiritual state. If you feel at peace despite the uncertainties, it's because deep inside, your soul knows that Allah's timing is perfect. So keep trusting, keep making dua, and keep improving yourself. When the time is right, your story will unfold beautifully. One of the biggest signs that you are getting closer to marriage is that the people around you start to change. You begin attracting individuals who are serious about relationships, have good character, and share your values. These people might be friends, mentors, or even potential life partners, instead of casual friendships or pointless interactions. You find yourself drawn to meaningful conversations and connections, discussions. You find yourself engaged in conversations that hold value. You might talk about personal growth, future plans, or even marriage itself. These discussions feel natural and purposeful, as if you are being prepared for the next phase of life. Suddenly, you are surrounded by people who encourage you to do better. Maybe you meet someone who guides you toward making better life choices. You might notice that people who are insincere or negative start fading away from your life. This shift isn't random. It's a sign that Allah is placing you in an environment that nurtures a strong and fulfilling marriage. Another major sign is that you start encountering people who are serious about marriage. Maybe friends introduce you to someone with good character, or perhaps someone approaches your family with a proposal. These encounters might feel different from the past. Instead of vague or uncertain interactions, the conversations are clearer, more purposeful, and aligned with your values. This doesn't mean you must rush into anything, but it's a sign that you're being guided in the right direction. When you start attracting the right people, it's a sign that you are ready for a new chapter in life. Pay attention to these changes, keep making dua, and trust that the right person will come into your life at the right time. One of the most powerful signs that you are on the path to marriage is that your heart keeps turning to Allah in dua. You find yourself asking for guidance, clarity, and a spouse who will be good for you in both this life and the next. This isn't just a passing thought. It's a deep, consistent desire that stays in your heart. And the fact that you keep making dua means that Allah is already guiding you. When you sincerely ask Allah for guidance, you start noticing a change in your relationship with Him. You feel closer to your faith, you pray with more focus, and your heart is at ease, even if things aren't happening as quickly as you hoped. This is because Allah never ignores a sincere dua. If you keep turning to Him, it means that He is listening and that He is preparing something better for you. Sometimes when we make dua, we expect an instant answer. But true faith means trusting Allah's timing, even when things seem delayed. You begin to realize that every delay, every unanswered question is actually an answer in itself, because Allah knows what's best for you. The fact that you haven't stopped making dua shows that you haven't lost hope, and that hope is a sign that something good is coming. Making dua isn't just about asking for a spouse, it's about aligning your heart with Allah's plan. Every dua you make is bringing you closer to the right person at the right time. So don't stop. Keep making dua. Keep improving yourself and trust that Allah's plan is always greater than your own. If you've noticed these signs in your life, it means that Allah is preparing you for something beautiful. Every challenge, every delay, and every moment of self-growth is part of His perfect plan. Marriage isn't just about finding the right person, it's about becoming the right person. Keep working on yourself, stay connected to your faith, and trust that Allah's timing is always best. And most importantly, never stop making dua. The right person will enter your life at the right time, in the most unexpected and beautiful way. If this video gave you clarity and hope, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us create more meaningful content, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an important reminder. May Allah bless you with the best partner. Ameen.